Hey guys, so it is finally time for my review of this week's episode of Scandal. I must say that this has definitely been my favorite episode of this season so far. I thought it was really, really great. Lots of tension. There was some great dialogue. I mean, there was some fantastic monologue going on in this episode. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the storyline in general. So basically, Olivia gets a call from the president's daughter, Karen, because Karen is drunk at a party and in trouble and she knows she needs help. Olivia and Quinn managed to get her out of this party without anyone, recording her or realizing who she is. So they think. Later, it turns out that Karen had a threesome with two guys and it was recorded, and basically one of them is threatening to release it. I feel like this review is basically going to be a countdown of my top 5 favorite monologues from this episode, right? My first one is going to have to be Olivia on the helicopter, right? So once they manage to get Karen out of the party, and after Olivia realizes that there's a sex tape, she calls Cyrus back to say, you need to wake up the president. And Cyrus tries to stonewall her and tries to be like, oh, he's got an early morning and this and that. And then Olivia just loses it. And I loved it. I've been having some fantastic conversations with you guys in the comment section about Olivia as a character. It really just feels like she's lost her way. And like she's been lost for a little while. So I am hoping that what we saw in this episode is the beginning of more of this. So Olivia, Huck, and Quinn kind of go into damage control mode, trying to stop this boy from releasing the sex tape. And eventually, Olivia runs into Mellie at the White House. And their conversation leads to another fantastic monologue from this episode. And that would be the one that Fitz gave while he and Mellie were having this conversation. When Mellie sees Olivia, she doesn't realize yet what's going on. She just thinks Olivia's here to sleep with my husband. So she goes to see Fitz and she pretty much pitches a fit and does this whole like, I'm the head of this family and I'll take care of our children. I don't want that woman near my child, blah, blah, blah. And then Fitz just loses it, man. He called her Drunk Mellie and Smelly Mellie. That was my favorite. And talked about the fact that all she does all day is wear a dirty robe and Uggs. And how dare she rewrite history and call herself a mother when basically she hasn't been doing that since their son died. I feel like it's been a long time coming and Fitz has been trying to hold it in and it finally just came all out and it was just beautifully written. Lastly, let us talk about my absolute favorite monologue moment of this episode. So, in the end, it turns out that the boy who has the video, his parents show up at Olivia's office, and she thinks, okay, we're going to get to work this out and get the video. And then the parents basically try to extort money from the president of the United States. They want like $2.5 million or something like that, right? To go ahead and give them the recording. And then when Olivia manages to get that amount, all of a sudden they want more. And then she just loses it. That whole scene, you guys, I mean, it was just so fantastic. And that was when I was just like, okay, Olivia Pope is back. Olivia Pope is back. I mean, you get that these people are pretty awful, right? I mean, the president has lost a child already, and now he's got these two trying to extort him for all he's got. And kind of using their own son to do that. And Olivia just pretty much tells them how awful they are and how she will ruin them. And as she is speaking, every word she says, you believe. It was just fantastic, right? And when she was done, those two signed the paper so quickly and got up out of that office. It was kind of funny. Let's talk about two other kind of big things that happened in this episode. We get that Jake has been trying to ruin Rowan. He's been trying to take down Papa Pope and to prove to Olivia that it was her father that actually killed the president's son. He's got the B613 files. He gets his evidence together, but then all of a sudden Tom is getting brought in for questioning. Also, there's the fact that Rowan is actually trying to kill Jake. So he tries to blow his car up and some other things. And so Jake is just kind of like under pressure. By the end of the episode though, it was kind of crazy, right? Because at first you think he and Tom have kind of formed this alliance because Jake manages to convince him that, look, if you kill me, you're next. Like, you gotta believe that. You are a loose end. And I'm thinking to myself, if the two of them work together, that yeah, they can do it. But by the end of the episode, Tom is getting questioned, and then Rowan comes in and actually questions him. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this man I mean, like, this man has got some balls, right? I mean, he questions this man knowing, right, that when he keeps asking Tom the question, who gave you orders to kill the president's son, the answer is really him. You did. He knows this, and yet he still goes into this interrogation session and goes, like, all in. And in the end, you know what? Tom says Jake Ballard. You know, I was just like, I was definitely not expecting those words to leave his lips. So yeah, Tom sells Jake out. And you get that Jake was right at the point where he was getting ready to give his proof to the president, and now it won't matter anymore. At least not until next week. Okay, and then of course, let us talk about Olitz. I mean, you guys, they started playing the music. You know what I'm talking about? The Olitz music. Every time they play that music, it's like, you know, we're about to have an Olitz moment. Fitz does his whole, like, where did you go? Why did you leave me for 2 months? I almost didn't survive. Don't ever leave me again. And Olivia lies at first, right? And tells him, like, oh, I had to get away because I needed some time alone. And then eventually she does tell him the truth. She tells him that I was with Jake. And I'm guessing that after this week, now that Fitz actually thinks that Jake killed his son, that's just gonna make that 10 times worse. These two though, you guys, I mean, it was a moment, right? And it was like, I don't know, it reminded me of some old, like, Olitz moments. But again, as I keep saying week after week, I am really hoping that we are going to see some different development in their relationship. I get it, the whole, you know, they're longing for each other and they want to be with each other, but they can't because he's the president, blah, blah, blah. But I'm kind of over that. I mean, am I the only one that's over that? I'm kind of over that, and so I'm hoping that something's got to give here, people. Something's got to give. Like I said, you guys, definitely my favorite episode of this season so far. It was just fantastic. I love the whole bit with the daughter and them trying to kind of figure that all out. And then even the whole, like, just a relational aspect of that, and the whole kind of take on fathers and daughters, and how much is Karen like her dad? I mean, quite a lot. And how much is Olivia like her dad, even though that is the thing that Olivia would probably hate the most. Would love to hear what you guys thought about this episode. Make sure you let me know, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.